Welcome to the back office. I'm Dalayna Dillon, the founder and creative director of Signify Marketing, and this is where you sit in on real strategy. This month is a special month for us at Signify because we're celebrating 5 years in business, and I'm so excited to bring you conversations with business owners who are building, learning, and figuring it out just like we have over the last 5 years. Today, we're sitting down with Elliot Mooney, founder of Mooney Cardiac Screening, a mobile cardiac testing business built around one mission: making heart health more accessible and affordable. We're talking about what it looks like to build a business around a real problem and create a solution that meets people where they are, literally where they are. So thank you so much, Elliot, for joining us today on the back office. And we're excited to learn more. So tell us a little bit about what led you into healthcare and kind of your history in healthcare.
Well, first, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk about this. So my experience with healthcare, I have a long history through all my family. So my dad's actually a sixth-generation doctor.
Oh, wow.
My grandfather... So my grandfather started the first drug and alcohol rehab center in the Southeast called Willingway Hospital.
Okay.
I'm from Statesboro, Georgia, originally.
I guess I kind of caught on to something. You're not from Oklahoma, although southern, not Oklahoma. So Georgia.
I'm originally from Statesboro,
Okay.
Georgia. Yes, ma'am. So my grandfather, he kind of battled substance abuse his whole life and got sober and started actually detoxing drunks on his dining room table in the 70s.
Wow.
So my dad grew up with a house full of drunks and people getting help, and so that led to him starting the first drug and alcohol rehab center in the Southeast called Willingway Hospital. So I've spent my whole life kind of in hospitals and around around helping people and caring for people. So that's kind of ingrained in I don't know, just in my family and in our legacy. So I've always wanted to help people, and it's always been a big passion of mine. So that's kind of what led me into the healthcare field.
So that makes you seventh generation?
I'm not a doctor.
Oh, not officially.
Yeah,
okay,
not
so you're saying
officially.
like an actual MD.
Yep, yes,
Okay.
yes. My dad is the actual sixth generation MD. We kind of
Okay.
broke the mold, me and my brothers.
Oh, man.
My other brother, he's a perfusionist, so
What is that?
So he operates like the artificial heart-lung machines during cardiac bypass surgeries and things
So
like
you're
that.
both in the cardiac
Both in
field.
the cardiac field, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you see? Because you've been involved in healthcare, even professionally. What did you see that concerned you? And also, where were you before Mooney Screening?
So long kind of story. I left Statesboro, Georgia, graduated, and kind of the job market around there is oversaturated. There's a school. So I got my first job in Montana, actually.
Okay.
So
Wow.
I went from Statesboro, Georgia to Montana, working in a cardiologist outpatient center where right out of school, I basically created his imaging center.
Okay.
So because it's really hard to find cardiac sonographers in Montana. So I don't think there's a school. I think the closest school maybe is in Idaho.
Okay.
So it was tough for him to find anybody, and I wanted to go start out with a high floor, not low floor payment wise and everything else. So I went out there and worked outpatient for 2 years. It's where I met my wife
In Montana.
In Montana,
All
yeah.
right.
She got her first job as a reporter out there, and we met in Montana. She's from Tulsa, so that's kind of how I ended up getting here. But then we traveled for 2 years. I took travel contracts. So we traveled around the nation to different hospitals and doing ultrasounds. And kind of in that time, you go to these different facilities, you meet with different patients, and you start to just learn about all the ins and outs of healthcare and what kind of problems patients are facing and just in general, just kind of issues with the healthcare system. So we went through there, and then my wife got a job in Tulsa, so I came back into Tulsa. And I really kind of just took travel contracts for a while around this area so that I could be home. And then I went back to Montana because, again, there's not a school. So that same cardiologist, Dr. Gray, I taught his nurses how to do echo, how to do cardiac sonography. And part of his payment package, he gave me the old machine that I used to work on when I was there.
Wow.
So I had a free machine.
Yeah.
Not really much overhead. So it was kind of like, well, I have this machine. What kind of purpose can I do? And I always wanted to do my own business.
Yeah.
And kind of do something. But now I have this machine. It's like, okay, now it's really kind of getting rolling. And how can I actually implement what my ideas are? And because healthcare is so expensive. So that's part of it.
Yeah. So tell me, okay, time frame. Tell me where we're talking about time frame. So you were back when were you in Montana? Was that?
So that was 2018 to, I think we left right around COVID, 2020.
So you came back to Tulsa during COVID?
Well, we traveled for 2 years. So we came back to Tulsa, I would say probably 2022. I traveled for a while. We bought a house here, and I just took travel contracts as close as I could because the travel money was pretty good. So
yeah, I hear that. See, people not in the healthcare industry, we don't know what that's like.
Yeah. So with travel, you get your base pay, and then you get these stipends on top of it. And that's really, they're non-taxable, so that's really how you make a lot of your money.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So.
Sounds great, except for the fact of a lot of this was during COVID, so I'm sure that you were walking into different places. I mean, for different contracts.
Oh, yes.
Totally different. I'm assuming different scenarios.
Different scenarios, yeah. So there was all kinds of different scenarios. Some was understaffed. Some of it, healthcare is a business. So some of it was, hey, we have this extra room. How can we continue to make revenue?
Right.
We can't just leave this room empty. Let's just hire a traveler because their output's going to match, the amount of money we pay. It's always going to be worth it because we're going to continue to get these outpatient echoes in.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked like that in some places. It all just depended on what was needed. There was a real boom with travel during the COVID times.
Right.
I think, travel rates fluctuate. So rates have kind of come down a little bit since all that. But, we decided to have, we were blessed enough to have our first baby born. So I needed to be closer to home.
How old is your
16 months.
16 months, okay. Is it a boy or girl?
It's a boy. His
name's
Maddox,
All right.
So we I had to be kind of closer to home, so I started looking for opportunities around Tulsa, and that's really when I started to try to get this business going. And that's been recent within the past year or so.
Okay, the last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, 2025, it kind of just started off as, I had the machine. It was like a Facebook post, and we just made a Facebook post, and a functional medicine doctor had a patient that didn't have good insurance, and they were like, hey, you want to try it? And so we just kind of built everything on the go to be able to do that. And then we said, okay, I guess there is a need and people are interested, so let's continue to kind of try to build this thing out. And so that's kind of what we did.
Well, I think there's plenty of businesses who started that way.
Yeah.
Where it's like you put it out there one time or even a few times and you realize the need.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I think people probably forget. I mean, it's easy to forget that healthcare is a business.
It is a business, yes.
We don't see that side of it. We just assume that it's all for our benefit and everything like that, but it really is a business.
It is.
And what do you, from everything you've seen and everything, this is a big question, so you can just put it in your context, but what do you feel is broken in the current healthcare system?
Current healthcare system, what I would say, I guess I would say that it seems to be that, insurance companies have become so large that they are really the gatekeepers now, as far as it goes. And as far as everything you need to run with healthcare, the scalability that you have with insurance, that really only a couple of companies have that scalability. So that puts those two major companies in charge of everything. So it really kind of, it went kind of out of the doctor's hands and into the insurance company's hands where, okay, they kind of dictate who you can go see, what you get done, because you need prior authorizations, you need approvals for these things.
Right.
A doctor can recommend it, but that doesn't necessarily mean the insurance is going to pay for it unless they have certain things. Now, the insurance usually does, and they do a good job, but that's just kind of how it's come. And I think people nowadays, some people just feel a little disenfranchised with insurance, and I think they want more freedom and more options.
Right.
And you're starting to kind of see that more and more in the healthcare field. You're starting to see concierge clinics open up where it's subscription pay, or you pay for a subscription, you get this amount of visits. You're starting to see functional medicine doctors pop up everywhere, where people will go to a functional medicine doctor that's not covered with insurance, and they're paying a price kind of like it was back in the 40s and stuff like that. So,
well, and it a lot of times might be cheaper than what their insurance would have been.
So that's kind of what led me to, start what I wanted to start, which was, depending on your insurance, depending on who it's through or where you're getting a echocardiogram, it can be anywhere from $500 to $4,000, depending on your insurance. Okay. So I charge $300. I come to your house because a lot of people, the other reason is a lot of people aren't comfortable going to the doctor's office.
That's true.
They aren't comfortable going to the doctor's office. My great-great-granddad was a doctor, and he did home visits.
Yeah.
And where better to assess someone's health than in the comfort of their own home where they're relaxed.
Yeah.
Because you go into offices, your blood pressure increases,
heart
blood rate increases, all that kind of stuff, and are you really getting a good baseline?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what caused me to kind of say, well, what can make me unique is that I can actually go to you and scan you in the comfort of your own home. So I can perform this ultrasound EKG in the comfort of your own home. I can have a cardiologist that reads it, and we can get back to you with your results.
So just for reference, typically, like in a hospital or a doctor's office, would these screenings be something that had to be recommended by your doctor? So these would be one of those things that fall under what you were saying with you have to be recommended to go have that. You couldn't just be like, oh, I want to go get my heart checked.
Yeah. So kind of where it falls into is you have screenings, which means that a doctor is not diagnosing you.
Okay.
So screening means it's like preventative health care. And then you have what we call diagnostic, ultrasound. So that all that means is a doctor has given you a diagnosis. A chest pain could be a diagnosis, or shortness of breath can be a diagnosis, but they have a diagnosis associated with the test that they are prescribing. Basically. Okay. So that's kind of the realm you're in. So when it comes to insurance and major hospitals, usually you have to have a diagnosis, you have to get prior authorization and all of that stuff. Whereas with cardiac screenings, if you want one, you can have one. Yeah. But if you're going to a hospital or somewhere else, then you're going to have to pay the out-of-pocket fee because you're not getting prior authorization or a diagnosis from a doctor.
Yeah, so that would be out of pocket.
So that would be out of pocket. Yeah.
So what do most people not realize about access to care? I know the thing is with the society we have, everyone wants everything customized to them.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, with insurance, a lot of times you don't get that. Yeah. But are there other loopholes that people have to go through to get access to care?
I think you're starting to see that more and more. Like I mentioned, the market kind of starts to meet the demand. Yeah. It's kind of how it happens.
Because this is a business.
This is a business. So it's people find ways and things pop up to meet those people, just like functional medicine, just like concierge clinics, things like that, where you're actually starting to see a lot more mobile ultrasound or not mobile ultrasound, but I would say you're starting to see independent ultrasound places. You probably see them all the time when they go in and get their scans for their babies and the pictures more general, but there's not really much when it comes to echo and the actual cardiac side. But you are starting to see more and more of that pop up with ultrasound and imaging clinics starting to pop up. But part of the difference is as well, when it comes to healthcare, there's a difference in what licensing you have within the private sphere and within a hospital operating license. And that has to do with the reimbursement you get from insurance. You get more reimbursement if you're operating underneath a hospital license than you would if you're a private practiititioner. So
they're making more money at the hospitals than at your doctor's office.
Yes.
So when you started this, you kind of saw the demand. You saw that, this is actually a need that needs to be met. What were some of the risks? What were some of the biggest risks that you had to face with really launching this as a business on your
Well,
own?
we're still kind of launching it. I haven't been able to get the volume I would like. I mean, probably the biggest hurdle, especially in this area, is there's already a huge Native community. So they have most of their, clinics and stuff. They're able to go and get their care. You know? So it kind of solves some of the
Not
problem.
everyone, because some people aren't on the roll.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So some people aren't on the rolls. But that would be a big hurdle, and you're pretty much, I don't know, you have these ingrained systems that are already built here that are huge, and it's hard to kind of get around that and I mean, the hardest thing is getting your name out there and having people understand that this is something that exists.
Well, I'd imagine there's a huge gap in education of who we are, what we do, why we do it.
Yeah.
Because it is such a system of, well, when we have this, we go to the doctor and they tell us to get this test, and it is so ingrained in us. But I do feel like, in a general way, like you said, people are making other choices.
Yeah.
They're taking other routes. So how has that been? Has that been a big hurdle as far as just education?
Yes, it's been a big hurdle as far as education and just as far as people understanding that this is a route you can go.
Yeah.
I mean, but one of the things is, this new generation, and with the advent of social media and with just the internet and all the information, people have access to educate themselves. Yeah. People will tell you about certain things, and I don't know, like you hear certain stories over, whether it be Instagram, whatever it is, and people are being more aware about their health and about their concerns. And so that's really something you're starting to see kind of blow up. And, heart disease is the #1 killer globally, and it affects everybody, no matter of race, social, economic status. People die of heart disease.
Yeah.
So, and it's a huge to go and be able to actually take it into your own hands. And that's really what my business is about, is getting those people educated and taking their heart health into their own hands.
Yeah. I've heard the saying that knowledge is power.
Yep.
And this provides that knowledge. So you have the power to make changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how many people, I guess I don't know if you would have a real specific percentage, but how many people do you feel are coming to you for prevention versus reactive to something that's going on?
I would say probably 80% are coming for prevention.
Prevention.
Or they are self-diagnosing, I guess. They feel a symptom.
They go to, what is it, the WebMD or something?
Yeah, they feel a symptom and they're concerned about it. Or a lot of times it's honestly been concerned spouses for their husband or significant other that, hey, he doesn't go to the doctor, he doesn't do this. I really want to see what his heart looks like.
So it's the wife sending the husband.
Yes. Or since they don't have to go anywhere, I can come to them. It helps them out.
They just have you ever just shown up and the person had no idea you were coming?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. They've all known. They have all known. But yeah. So, and then I think another huge hurdle has been just, how do I put this? There's systems in place that are meant for good things, but they can make things complicated. So, we have HIPAA laws,
right? And
it's important to make sure that we are protecting people's private information. Well, with a small business, it's difficult because, a lot of these people, they don't really care about the HIPAA. They want me to just email them their results.
Right.
Well, I have to have them sign a waiver. I have to have them do this. I have to have these things in place. And if I'm screening for somebody else, I have to have a release of information. And they just want it to be as simple as sending that
just
stuff.
Tell me.
But it's private information. It's their health information. It's important. But it does cause a little bit of a roadblock. So you have to make sure all your systems are in place. I have to make sure I have, VPNs. I have secured, PAC system. I have all those things in place. And setting all that up was it was a little bit of a headache, but a necessary one. You know why you're doing it, but it is still one of the kind of a roadblock in starting this, because and two, a lot of it, like we discussed, just getting your name out there. Well, how do you get your name out there when you have to keep your people's information private and they have to really kind of agree to write a review and write this, and you can't just kind of say, oh, take a picture while I'm scanning somebody and say, oh, here we are today. Well, that's them, and getting a private health examination. So it's not like any other business as far as that goes. So you have to be cautious about those types of things, and it's kind of been a little bit of a hurdle of today in these day and age of how social media works and how it's such a big tool, so we get people to volunteer to
stage it a little bit,
stage and show some pictures and things like that to kind of show what, because a lot of people don't even know what an echocardiogram is.
Exactly. You have to show the process. That's, because they have no way to, they think hospital. Yeah. When they hear this echocardiogram, they think, oh, I got to go to the hospital for that. Yep. But just show them what that process looks like. Yeah, I think it's pretty incredible. You had to, get an IT hat to do cardiac screening.
Yes. I had to set up a PAC system. I had to set up all kinds of things, learn about ports and
most things none of us want to know about.
Yeah, I had a lot of help from ChatGPT too. So
there's some use for chat that is outside what you would expect.
It helped me troubleshoot some things. Yeah, that's for sure.
So what impact do you hope to make through being mobile, through meeting people where they're at, through giving people an option besides just typical insurance or whatever it may be?
I mean, ultimately, I just want to help. I want to help people, and I want to make sure that they are healthy and that they understand their risks, they understand everything, and that they can take their health into their own hands. And, I mean, we're still very small and we're growing. Ultimate goals, I would like to get to the point where I could go to schools and do screenings for high school athletes, because a lot of the times so it's called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, and it's the number one reason kids die on the quarter field. So if you hear about somebody just dropping dead on the field.
We've heard those stories.
Yeah. If you ever hear that, it's usually the number one culprit. It's called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
So what is that?
So basically, it's where their heart walls are so thick that they're not able, once they get their heart rate up, they're not able to get any volume in their left ventricle, so no blood's pumping out, and it obstructs their aortic valve and the aorta and the flow of blood, and they drop.
So is this like a birth defect, or is it developed?
Sometimes it's genetic, yes, most of the time, but it's not always caught in a routine sports physical. So sometimes they will hear a heart murmur and they can get it diagnosed, but it's not pretty much the best way to combat it is with an echo, where we actually measure your heart wall thickness and everything like that. So eventually I would like to get into the school system, or just any kind of schools, to do some screening and stuff for high school athletes. In college, it's become pretty standard that every athlete gets echo and a carotid ultrasound. Yeah.
Is that recent, or is that a thing that I just didn't know about?
I think it's probably pretty recent, within probably the last 10 years, I would say. It's starting to happen more and more. Yeah.
That's crazy, because, I feel like we've all heard those stories, even professional athletes that were like, what is going on? Yeah. And there would have been no sign for that until it just happens? Yeah, until
it happens, unless they do, like, they hear a murmur or something like that.
Yeah, and then they would check it further.
Then they would do an echo check to make sure. So that's one of the big things I would like to accomplish in the future, if I'm able to. Yeah. And really just trying to impact as many lives as I can, and to try to combat heart disease. Right. So while also being able to provide for my family.
Yes, of course. Of course. Okay, so what do you see on the horizon for the healthcare industry, especially pertaining to what you do?
I think, like I said, I think you're going to starting to see a change, because people are getting kind of disenfranchised with insurance. I think you're going to start seeing the market come to meet those demands and meet those needs in a way. I think you're going to start to see more concierge clinics that have imaging clinics attached, where it's like a subscription. You can come in and do everything you want. But, I mean, hospitals are necessary. They provide a great service. But the thing about America is we want freedom, and we want freedom of choice.
And we want lots of choices.
And I think you're already starting to see it, and you're going to start to see more and more choices start to pop up around, to try to kind of work around the issues that we see. And because just everything's gotten so expensive, everything's just expensive in general. Healthcare is super expensive. So I think you're going to start seeing people say, well, I'll charge a little bit less, and you can come to me, or whatever it is, or people that just generally want to help. And I think this next generation is very health conscious. So, I mean, you're seeing them drink less. You're seeing them do all kinds of stuff less than what we would have done. So,
does it make you hopeful as a healthcare provider?
It does.
You're like,
it does.
Yes.
It does. So I think you're gonna start to see some changes in how it works, and you're already starting to see some changes. But ultimately, if we can give people options and people choices, that's what we're here for. Because everyone's different, everyone's body's different, everybody reacts differently to medicine, and you want to have choices in that. And ultimately, the patient is the one that's in control of their healthcare decisions, and if that's what they decide, then they have every right to do that.
I mean, I feel like these could just be soapbox after soapbox after soapbox of just, yes, we a lot of times don't feel like we have the choices, but ultimately it is in our control.
Yeah, it is.
And even medicine, even healthcare is not one size fits all.
Yeah.
So that's why things like this are so perfect, because they're customized to what's actually going on with your body.
Yeah.
So this is a super practical question for those who are like, man, I didn't know I needed to get my heart screened, but maybe I need to get my heart screened. What are some indicators that someone might need to have you out to have an echocardiogram? Is that the only screening you do? Because I'm not knowledgeable about any of this.
I do echoes, I do EKGs, and I do carotids. So
3 different.
So kind of full cardiac screening, I'll do an echocardiogram and an EKG. So echocardiogram is going to show your function and how well your valves are working, how well your heart walls are squeezing. And it'll also, EKG shows the electrical function of your heart. So it's kind of 2 separate things, but they both coincide together.
Okay.
And the carotid is going to show your carotid arteries, if there's any plaque or blockages in your carotid arteries. So now I'm going to say, if there is anybody out there listening, if they're having severe chest pain, go to the ER.
Go to the ER.
Go to the ER. Yeah, make sure that you're not having a heart attack.
Yeah.
But if you have palpitations, you're short of breath, anything from high blood pressure to really any indication, I mean, it could be a heart related. If you're finding out that you're not able to get up and go like you used to, the doctor I used to work for, he used to always ask, because we're in Montana, he's like, are you able to shovel snow like you could before? He goes, no, I get real tired. So we would do an echo and make sure that there's not a backflow of blood, make sure all their valves are working correctly, because what happens is you get a leaky valve and everything starts to back up and you get more and more short of breath.
Yeah.
So, or if, a lot of palpitation stuff, if you're feeling your heart racing and things like that, we're going to look and make sure, first we're going to do an EKG, make sure electrical in that moment that your heart's okay electrically, and then we're going to look at it, how well it's functioning, structure and function of your heart. Yeah. But what my test doesn't check for, so it doesn't check for actual blockage in your coronary arteries. So what we do look at is how well your heart walls are squeezing. So not all the time, but most of the time, if one of those heart segments isn't squeezing well, then that means the corresponding coronary artery that perfuses that segment could have a blockage. Now, it's not always the case.
But you should look into it.
But look into it, yeah. So it's not always the case, because you could have clear coronary arteries and still have bad function because of anything from dilated cardiomyopathies to, excess alcohol can kill your heart wall muscles, and you have low function. But you could have clear coronary arteries. So it's a good baseline test to see what your overall heart function is. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, this is a bonus question. Just because I'm the type of person as I could keep asking a million questions about health-related things. First thing that I thought is, like, do our hearts have electricity in them? What are you saying? What is that?
Function.
Electrical function in our heart?
Yes. So your heart is set up with its own kind of electrical function to continue to beat, separate of the brain. Really, it has these things called nodes. So the SA node, sinoatrial node, and it goes through this whole system to make sure your heart is beating and pumping correctly.
So we truly have the power.
Yeah, we have the power
through our bodies.
Yes.
Okay, and my other question is, what do you feel like, and maybe you gotta give a couple top things, what do you feel like are some of the biggest contributors to heart issues that people have? Is it, diet? What is it?
I would say diet, genetics. Sometimes you can't outrun your genetics.
It's just,
Diet, genetics, lifestyle, making sure you're exercising is always good. I mean, you can do all those and still have problems, but it definitely helps.
Yeah.
I know our cardiologists, I mean, again, I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose. I just take the pictures, but
you're an expert on hearts.
But I would say he always recommend the Mediterranean diet to people. So diet, exercise, but then again, those genetics are pesky. Sometimes you never know. You can do all those things and still be predisposed to something.
Right. Right. But these are all things that you could even speak to in a screening. If you see things like that, someone could tell you if they're having, I don't know, a diet that you're like, maybe that could be causing some of this.
Yeah, that's actually part of what I would like to grow the business to as well. I'd like to partner with some sort of nutritionist something that I could lead my patients to actually get them on the right track with their diet as well. Again, I can't really say much during an exam because I can't diagnose. I'm not a doctor, but I have a cardiologist that reads it, and he will make recommendations. So that's kind of what he does. And I try to get as much information from the patient as I can to tell him. Yeah. And that's kind of how it works.
So there's a lot of ways that this could even continue to grow and expand because it's customized. Yeah, it's customized to what each person's facing and dealing with. Yeah. So before we close, I always like to ask this question. What is one thing you don't have fully figured out yet, but you're choosing to build through it anyway?
Definitely still trying to figure out how to get my name out there and how to get more patients, more volume, and people involved. And that's really one of the biggest things. And man, I don't have a lot of it figured out. We're still working through a lot.
We're all figuring it out. Exactly.
We're still trying to figure out our website. We're still trying to figure out all kinds of things.
But you have a website, so
we do. But we're still trying to kind of get it up and running, get everything going, and get kind of what scheduling practices to use and things like that. Because I mean, we haven't had the volume enough where I'm still working other full-time jobs. So this is really something I'm doing to try to grow and build on the side right now until it can kind of take over.
But that is where I can't say everyone, but so many start. Yeah. That's where so many start, is that they're building while still having to maintain some other things. Yeah. And so it's so relatable to know that don't quit building. Yeah. You just got to keep going. Yeah. So where can people find you online? Because you do have a website. Yeah, you do have social media.
Yeah, MooneyCardiacScreening.com, or you can go to our Facebook page, or you can always call or text 918-388-7204. We'll get you scheduled.
Awesome. Well, that is it for this session of The Back Office. This conversation gave you clarity, a new angle, or even just the reminder that you are not the only one navigating it. Then it did its job. Apply it, move on it, because no one has it fully figured out, but we're building anyway. And if you know another operator who could benefit from this, find it valuable, share it with them, and you can always hang out with us in between sessions at Signify Marketing Social. I'm Dalayna Dillon, and we will see you back here next time.